We must address a couple of other matters, one of which is the front page of some of the newspapers this morning. Afghans killed as Whitehall worked from home. Afghans left to die in Kabul. This is, of course, when you were in post as Foreign Secretary, the suggestion that it was dysfunctional, chaotic, people were left to die at the hands of the Taliban. How do you respond to that?
Well, look, it was a very difficult set of operational conditions, but I'd point to the fact that in just 2 weeks, we secured the evacuation of 15,000
Well, how many more
British
might you have done if it wasn't so dysfunctional?
Well, that's the biggest operation in living memory. It is more than any other country with the exception of the United States. The challenge, of course, was sifting all of the people, putting in applications, making sure we had the basic facts to make informed decisions. And, of course, I think listeners would recognise, and it's important to stress, the operational conditions on the ground are extremely difficult. So we had a lot of people coming forward who are undocumented. Well, you don't just put them on a flight, you check that they're the ones that are eligible. We want to protect those that were most at risk of persecution or losing their lives. And also, we wanted to make sure, some basic checks to make sure we didn't allow anyone on that might threaten the UK. But judge us by our results. And as I said, the 15,000 people evacuated within 2 weeks, the biggest operation of its kind in living memory, more than any other country except the US.
The so-called whistleblower, Raphael, do you remember Mr. Marshall, Raphael Marshall?
I don't, but he was a relatively junior desk officer. But again, as with many people, I mean, operating under a lot of strain and a lot of pressure.
He claims that in one instance, he was the only person who was actually working because of the working from home culture. Can you see if do you think that might be correct?
No, it certainly wouldn't be correct to say that he was the only person working on it. We had 1,000 people working. Of course, they would do it on a rota shift, but the Foreign Office were working night and day. And of course, this was a joint operation because the claims were coming through in relation to 3 separate schemes, and the Home Office, the MOD was working with the Foreign Office. I think the cross-Whitehall effort was extensive. We worked very closely together. There'll always be lessons to learn, but I'd say just recognise the conditions under which they were operating, not just in London, but the facts on the ground, the operational conditions on the ground in Afghanistan, and the fact that we got 15,000 people out in just 2 weeks.